So what we're going to do is show you how to fit the BC20 Bluetooth kit into this area here inside a Bose Sounddock Original Black or White Series 1. They're very good docks, they sound fantastic, and the speakers and the reliability are second to none. There is a couple of reliability issues in the sound processor, but we can sort those for you at a very low cost. And you know, you've suddenly got yourself a very good high capability Bluetooth speaker with the latest technology inside. So, but without further ado, I'll just show you, I'll give you a run over the kit and where it fits, and then we'll go ahead and fit the kit, shall we? So, put the dock to one side, zoom in slightly, and get this. This is the kit that we supply, okay? It's called the BC20, and I'll just give you a run over it. It comes in a small box, it comes assembled like this. So just this fits in to this area here from the top. So this is the control panel which will be sitting in this aperture where the iPod used to dock, okay? So let's just run over the features on this. It is in the documentation of the data sheet, but you might find it interesting just to review what we have and what the functions and features are of this product, okay? So what do we have? I've got something to point with. Going from left to right along the top, we've got the skip back button. It's very useful to have these. If you're connected via Alexa or via a dock or a phone, rather than locating your phone, unlocking the menu because there's a song that you detest or a song that you want to hear again, you can just hit this button, quick press on that button, and the Alexa or whatever the Bluetooth source will skip back to the last track. Okay, so I put those on there because I'm fed up of hearing a rubbish song and then trying to find my phone, or the phone rings, or someone at the door, or someone's trying to talk, and you can hit these control buttons. So you've got skip back, play pause, skip forward. Okay. Now the system, when you plug the system in, it automatically powers up. So when the power is applied, you plug the mains in or plug the power supply in the back of the unit. After 2 or 3 seconds, it will go blub 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 and start up, and the power light will come on, a red power indicator showing that you have power. Now the dock, if you do not pair with it and do not stream with it, and it's not being used, i.e. there's no music streaming, the amplifier is powered down, but the Bluetooth module stays powered up for 10 minutes. Then after 10 minutes it will automatically power down and go a reverse order of the tone, a high tone going to low, and it will switch off and both lights will go out, in which case then the dock is off. Alright, now to turn the thing back on again, you can press and hold this button for 3 seconds. You press and hold that and you hear that doot 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 as it comes back. I'll demonstrate this later, and then you're ready for the dock to be used. And if you want to go into pairing mode, you can see there's the blue pairing symbol there. You just need to press and release that. The dock will emit a beep and the blue Bluetooth status light will start flashing, and then the BC20 will be discoverable to any devices that's trying to find it on the Bluetooth radio system. So yeah, so to recap this button, press and hold to turn on, press and hold to turn off until you hear the tone, and also to pair, just press and release. Press and release, you get a beep, and then the Bluetooth pairing light will come on. Alright. Now going on the, and one other function on the top row is, you can see this symbol here, that's bass boost. When you first switch on, you've got basic multi-band dynamic range compression, but if you want more bass, you can press and hold this button for a few seconds and you'll hear the bass get louder, and it's just a bass boost for people that prefer a bit more bass. And also if you press and hold again, it'll turn the bass boost off so you can play the music flat. It's your choice, but it is a bit of a bass booster if you want to use it. Sound mode, press and hold this button until you hear the sound change and then let go. Alright. If you press it momentarily, it will just skip backtrack. You've got USB fast charge socket. This has 2 charge rates. The one charge rate is when the dock is playing music, it's 600 milliamps, and when the dock is paused and the amplifier is not being used, it's 1.6 amps. Alright, so it's a smart fast charge socket, and it changes modes depending on whether the capability of the power supply really. We don't want to start drawing lots of charging current out when you're playing loud music. So it sticks back to the original specification for the dock of 600 milliamps in playing mode. So you'll find that when this is not playing, there's no music coming out, this will charge significantly faster, approximately 3 times as fast. All right. So and then next to this we have an auxiliary line in 3.5mm stereo jack socket. You can plug your earphone connection or an aux out from an amplifier or some other source. Audio output goes in there. All right, it's not a headphone socket. Make that clear. It's definitely not a headphone socket. Now, in terms of priority, if you're playing via this socket, playing some music from an aux source, and then you connect by Bluetooth and press play on your Bluetooth, the Bluetooth audio will take over and start playing. Right, so the Bluetooth has higher priority than this, and once you pause your Bluetooth, about 8 or 9 seconds later, I've made it so that it switches back to the aux in. All right, but the aux in, when that plug is in there, the dock will be permanently out of standby and permanently in play mode. Okay, so if you leave the aux in and leave this switched on, then the dock is ready to be used, and it will consume a bit of power, but you can turn it off here. So with this plugged in, you'll need to turn this off manually, because the auto turn off is disabled, obviously, when the aux in is plugged in. All right. Now, so I've covered that. Then this symbol here, on the back of here, is an NFC pairing antenna. On the back, behind that symbol, and I'll demonstrate this later. But this symbol is where if you've got NFC pairing support on your phone, then instead of going into the Bluetooth menus and searching through and finding out where how to pair it and discover it and all the rest of it, you just literally lay the top section of your phone on the dock. You'll hear a beep, and then it will pair with the dock automatically. And likewise, when you come back in, instead of having to turn the dock on, you can just unlock your phone. It won't work if your phone is locked. When your phone is locked, the NFC pairing is not working. It's not stimulating the pairing and looking for other devices, obviously to save power, also to stop people interacting with your phone when it's in your pocket or somewhere. So but you just have to unlock the phone and drop it on there, and the first time you do that, we'll ask you to pair, confirm. You ask your phone to confirm the pairing, but subsequent trials, once these two have been paired together and they're associated in their memories with each other, once it's been associated, you just need to put the phone on the top and it will pair automatically. All right. So that's the NFC pairing. And now looking at this board now, it's just designed to fit in the front section of the dock. It fits in there, okay. And I'm going to show you how to fit it. I'll go through the procedure. But it's supplied like this. And the first thing you should know is when you're handling this, handle it with care. There are electronic components and they are exposed. You can see them. And you can see that here is the interface connector between the antenna board and the actual dock itself, okay. Now when you unplug this, you just need to make sure you pull it up vertically, right, and it comes off. And I'll just show you the rear of it. That's what it looks like when you receive it. You've got your LEDs, resistors, transducer chip, and then you've got this vertical pin socket. It's quite strong, but don't abuse it. Bear in mind that when you put this back together, you have to put that over the top of the auxiliary input socket, and then just gently rock it to get the pins to engaged, and that's engaged. Don't go forcing it, pushing it down with any degree of force, because it will bend the pins and you might have a problem. Likewise, when you're removing it, I'll show you the disassembly in a moment after we've done the assembly, just to make sure that you've got it. But it is not that delicate, but when we get stuff back from customers, we are sometimes surprised with the sheer brute force they've used. So engage that delicately and carefully and feel your way, basically, pretending you're trying to ease something into position without actually forcing. No great deal of force. And of course, if you hold it misaligned, then these buttons will not be aligned, so you have to be careful to make sure that when you assemble it, that all the buttons line up and they go through the holes and just protrude nicely. This is also available in a colour matched black or a colour matched white colour. All right, so you can get this in both colours. 0357 are the white docks, and the 0402 are black, and 0498s are black. Right. Now this board, for those of you who have had BC7s, you know, dealers and people and businesses have been fitting BC7s. We used to have an A and B version of the BC7, but this one is universal. So it fits the A and B dock. There's switching electronics around here and in the micro, which determine which dock it's connected to, and then switch around these connections to match the actual A or B dock. So you no longer have to worry about whether you've got a compatible dock. So long as it's a Series 1 dock, it will work. There is one minor nuance in the functionality, because on the Type B docks only 5 volts is supplied to here, not the 17 volts which is on the A dock. So there is less power available for this socket on a B dock. So when you have a B dock, this is just a standard 500 milliamp charging socket. It won't support the fast charge mode. It's not necessarily a problem, but if we do draw too much current, we'll overload the dock. So that's the reason for that. Okay. Now, what else can we say? I think that more or less covers the actual unit itself, the controller and the overlay. And you can see there's the NFC antenna on the back. You see that? That thing glinting in the light now is the antenna. Okay, so let's put that board to one side and let's get the dock back in position and work on that. So if I put the dock back and zoom out. Alright, okay, here we go. So move those power lines. And of course I haven't actually got myself a screwdriver. Alright, so first of all, the kit comes complete with a T8 Torx screwdriver. It'll either look like one of these, a blue one, or one of the larger ones. Usually we ship the blue one because it's more compact. And the T8 Torx screws are the ones which are in this lower half moon shaped part of the mouldings. 1, 2, 3 of them under there. And then there's these 4. This lower cover does not necessarily need to be removed unless you're doing something with the sound processor. Okay, so yeah, the first thing to do is to take a big crosshead screwdriver and just undo these screws a couple of turns each. No more than that, just a couple of turns. Okay, I'll show you the purpose of that later, but it's just to loosen that lower cover so we can. There is an umbilical ribbon cable which comes in here, which is tucked under and folded under. If it's screwed down tight, it's more difficult to get it in and out, to get it to slide and extend and disappear back inside. So it's just necessary to loosen these screws to allow that cover to become more loose, so that cable is no longer clamped. Okay, so now we're going to use a smaller T8 Torx to fully remove these 3. Obviously do this over a flat table, flat desk, because these screws we can supply you with screws, but we only got limited supply. Take the 3 screws out. Capture them. Don't lose them. Okay. And then hold in that position, just put it upright. And one thing I've forgotten to do is take out the actual front grille. So we can do that now. I can do it with these pointed. If you use a screwdriver, just lever into here and just gently pull. It might be, it can be quite tight, so just ease it around. And bear in mind that if you use something which is, when you lever it, is going to leave a dink in the plastic. If your dock is in a particularly pristine condition, you might want to consider using a plastic or a flat bladed thing like this to stop you damaging the actual surround. So you can see on this part there's these rubber tapes here. These are kind of polyurethane rubber pads which are self-adhesive onto the grill, and they're pinched into here in the gap around to hold the dock in, hold the grill in, should I say. This one's had something really weird spilt on it. I think, yeah, I'm not sure what it is, but with a rub down and a blast of silver paint, that can be easily renewed. Just get a small can of silver paint, rub it gently with some wet and dry abrasive paper, not too much, until it's flat and uniform. Make sure it's clean. We also wash these in the sink. If some of the holes are blocked up, you can wash these and make sure they're dry thoroughly and wash them in detergent, because then that will get rid of some of the sort of material that's on there, whatever it is. And yeah, a cheap can of silver paint, a couple of light coats, separated by 20-30 minutes. Acrylic is fine, and they look good. And we've had some customers spray these orange and green and all sorts. They're quite good. Put that to one side. And now, yeah, you can see. So now we can turn this over again. You can see as I lift this up, this front part will drop forward. And if I just wedge the dock up slightly like that, so you can see, I can show you what's in there. I can show you, give it a good old look, shall we? Right, so here it is. That's what you see. And this is the original Bose board, covered by the original Bose sticky overlay. We can pull that off. You need to pull that off at some stage anyway. This is no longer required. Might be useful for something, but I don't know what. And yeah, so here we have the actual board itself. And first of all, if we look, you can see this customer spilt some liquid down in this. If I just go into, well, I'll focus up as far as I can, sorry about that. You can see here there's corrosion. So some liquid has been spilt into this connector and essentially ruined the connector and ruined the board. Okay. So this is a Type A dock because it's got the 282490001, not that you should worry about that. And to get this off, you can just pull gently on this ribbon cable. Just hold it there. I'm clamping it there to stop it sliding out with my finger, and then just rock it from side to side. You can see it comes off. And the first thing you're going to do when you've done that is to make sure that this is all clean and shiny and they all line up like little row of shiny parallel tin soldiers there. There's no blackening, no charring, no corrosion. It's lovely and clean and shiny. You can see that they're all nicely. There's 24 connectors spaced 1mm apart there, and they all look fine, don't they? So that's pretty good actually. So that's fine. That's fine. We'll go with that a bit more in a moment. So what we have now is this assembly. We call it the Half Moon assembly here, and the name of the game at the moment is to remove this board from the base. And you can see that what Bose have done at the factory is to have a series of plastic pegs which go up through the board, and then Bose use a heat staking machine just basically to melt those pegs over like mushrooms on top. So the name of the game we've got is just to slice off the tops of those mushrooms. Okay, so I'm using a scalpel. You can use some flush cut pliers. Just make sure they're nice and accurately cut, like that. Yeah, slice them off, mind your fingers, obviously. Get the blade under, get your fingers clear, and break your scalpel blade like that. So yeah, I'm more trying to use brute force and ignorance. A more sturdy knife might be in order. Can I find one? Can I find one? Yes, I can. Right. So doing it a bit more gently with a rocking action. I demonstrate how you break the blade, but the easy way to do it is just to slice through by doing this. Also, you can get some purchase from the back of there to slice those off. Give it a good trimming. There we are, that's that one done. And this one you can put it against the switch if you want to, and you slice it off that way, much more controlled fashion than I was using. But work away at these pegs until they are nicely sliced across the top like that on the board. It doesn't matter about, you're not keeping this board is not used, so it doesn't matter if you scratch the board. Okay, so how many have we got? We've done them all yet? Can you spot one that's not done? I can, that one. Stop for coffee in a minute. Right, okay, so then pull that off, and you can then see these various pegs have been squished over at an angle and all sorts. You know, you can see where that one's actually been pushed to the side when it was heat staked. So you need just to straighten these up a little bit, just to take the pips off the top and make them a bit more located where they're supposed to be. You want them central. Okay, so just trim them up to make them look nice. You can see this one here has got a bit sticking out which is off the top of the board, so we're just going to slice that tiny little bit off there. Okay, just make it so that when the board goes back on, and likewise with this one, you can see this one's been turned in a right strange mushroom shape. You see that? There, you can see it better from that angle, can't you? You can see, look, you see? So I'm just going to straighten that one up as well. Nice sharp scalp was plenty good enough for this. And then likewise this one has been squished over. So when they put the heat staking machine on, they've pushed it down and actually the board has slid forward, so that connector hasn't been properly located with respect to the case. So obviously we want our board to go back in the right position, so we need to make sure that these are trimmed above where they originate underneath, i.e. they are in the middle of that rib, there's a peg, and we need to just line those up. Gives us a much better chance of putting it together first time with no issues. Okay, now there is one peg right, so that's much better. They're all more or less vertical now. There is one peg which we have to remove. The board, to enable to accommodate this Bluetooth module, the board, there's a peg here which was no room to accommodate it. So that one peg, remember to do this, otherwise it won't go there. Don't skip over this bit. Remove that one peg. And I'm going to keep mentioning this because I've had customers who've fitted things and they've clearly got bored watching the video and skipped on and mess things up somewhat. Okay, so I've got this one peg, remove that one peg, and then if we just do a test fit at this point before we do anything else, to just get the controller and test fit it onto those pegs to make sure it fits down. It may, on occasion, it may even snap into position like that one just did. Did you hear that go? And you can see that this peg down here it's been squished way out of alignment, so I'm just going to trim that peg up a little bit more so it goes through more easily. Okay, so now just check, and then that one there is giving us a little bit of grief for some reason. So I'm just going to trim a little bit more off that peg on the end to make sure that the unit will sit down flat on the board, on the base moulding, on the supports. See how it goes now. There we go. So you can see now, when I hold it up, you can see that the board is sitting down flat all the way along between these support ribs and the actual board. The main board, the underside of the board, is all fitted down squarely. Alright, if that's not sitting down properly, you will have problems with these buttons actuating spontaneously, the volume going up and down, or the inability to control the volume. And there's one at that end as well. Okay, so make sure it's sitting down. If you can't get it to sit down straight, don't proceed until you've got the thing sitting down, because it will give you problems when installed. Okay, anyway, so now we have the actual controller and the half moon moulding, and the controller is sitting down onto the half moon moulding, or was. Just need to ease it over these pegs to make sure it's sitting down. There, hear it snap down shut. So it's sitting in position now and it's ready to be assembled. What we need to do now is concentrate on this connector here. It's a self-locking connector, and I'm just going to go into macro zoom mode so you can get a really good look at what we're talking about with regard to engaging this and treating this connector in the right way to make sure that it's reliable and you make a good connection. Okay, so there we are. This is that connector, the dastardly connector, 24 way, and you can see there's this collar. There's this black part here at the edges, that one and that one. That is a locking collar, and you just flip those out gently. We sometimes get these have been pushed out with such force that this part has broken across there, and of course that's really annoying because the customer can't use the part, and we have to go through the returns procedure. We don't charge for it, but it's just very annoying, so be careful to make sure that you remove. I'll just demonstrate this now. With that collar in, you cannot plug this ribbon in. It won't go in because that collar is a clamp and the clamp is closed, therefore it won't go in at all. If I try and push it in, it won't go in, okay? This is why it's called a zero force insertion ribbon. If I just open this up, sorry about the focus, come back, focus, your focusing thing. So put it in and lock it all the way in, and now it's fixed. I can pick the whole thing up by it, okay? Alright, so that one's not going to be remaining in there, so I'm just going to take that out. But make sure both of those collars at both ends are fully in, and you might need to do each one more than once because every time you push on one, the other one rocks out slightly, okay? So make sure they're fully in. If they're not fully in and only some of these are making contact, it could damage your dock and it could damage the actual controller, so be careful with that. So I'll just gently open it up. So you can see now the ribbon cable just falls out, right? So we need to do that operation on the dock to actually fit the unit. Right, okay, before we try to put the board back, let's just talk about a check on this dock moulding. Some of these dock mouldings have got this edge here, where the connector sits, is too far that way. It's variable, it varies by quite a bit. And it's necessary just to get your scalpel and chop a couple of millimeters off that piece of plastic. So just slice it. You can do a small slice at a time and make sure it's vertical and just trim it back. Using your scalpel, or if you have it, a pair of cutters is equally good. You're looking at taking 2 millimeters off that edge, okay? Cut that way. You see that? So I've just trimmed that back. I'm just going to square it up nicely. Okay, so if you relieve that edge slightly, very slightly, I mean you can also just do it with it. If you have some cutters, you can always just take a little snip out. Snip that way. Just to give you a little bit more wiggle room with the actual board when it goes in, okay? Blow out and shake out all the bits that you've trimmed off, and then let's go ahead with the assembly now. So where are we? Here we go. Let's zoom in slightly. You can see where we're at with the ribbon cable. Pull the ribbon cable out. You can see I can move it backwards and forwards due to this being loose. And we just take the assembly, make sure it's sitting down on our pegs again, and then putting your finger through here, through there, you can hold it together like I am there to stop it coming off the pegs, alright? So, but first we make sure both of these locking tabs are disengaged, i.e. that they're fully out in the out position in that direction, and then rest the ribbon cable over the top, slide her in, make sure that they're all fully engaged and you have the same amount of silver showing at this end at that end to show you that it is fully in, and then just engage these one at a time, one by one. You can use the end of the screwdriver we gave in the kit, we didn't give you, we sold you in the kit. Alright, so holding this together now, we have to be careful not to break these switches. If you put too much force on these switches, but find a space in the middle there somewhere where you can put your finger through and just hold it in position. And on the base of this moulding here, you can see there is a lip. You can see that lip where my finger is. And that lip has to go dive underneath this cover. So you dive that lip under the cover, feeding the ribbon back, and then you're in position, wiggle it around a bit until it sits in like that. So you're all sitting nice and flush all the way around. And if it won't go in there, don't force it. There's a reason, okay? Just investigate. You might need to trim the pegs. You might need to trim back that return to accommodate the connector, but in any case you can now pop the screws in one by one. Okay, and the third one, yeah, still got them all. It's a miracle. Alright, so your base moulding and your controller is in position. All the screws are tight. All those three. We'll do these. We'll talk about these in a minute. Actually, the other four. So if I turn her over now, and you can see that the controller is sitting in position, and check the controls are working. You should be able to feel the click click when you press the button. If you don't feel the click click from underneath, or it's rigid, it won't push down, then you need to stop now and investigate as to why this board is not sitting down. But you can see it is sitting down nicely now. We're in position, we're ready to do the actual final part of the assembly. Okay, now it's time to fit the button panel. It's quite straightforward, but you do have to be quite gentle with it. There is a self-adhesive strip at both ends, and it's got a peelable cover on it, so you peel this off immediately before you're ready to stick the actual control back into position, the control panel into position. Just need to make sure that these edges are clean and dust free, otherwise it won't adhere to it properly. And so before we peel off the backing and put the control panel in place, we just need to drop the button panel over and just make sure, you can see that there, that these buttons in here are aligning okay. If you start to push it down and these won't go down through the holes, then you might need just to pull one to one side and just gently put it into position. You can see that's going to go into position okay. So what we can do now is to take it off, remove the backing paper. You can use a scalpel or a pair of tweezers. Look, I'm doing this at arm's length so you can see there's the adhesive strip there glinting in the light. And then this one as well. And then you simply carefully just feel your way, put it into position, and push it down, okay? And then test all your buttons are working. They are, okay. Test these buttons are working. They are. Test this is pushed down fully, which it is. Okay, so you're ready to plug in the power and give it a test. And that's covered in the next video. The testing of this is covered in the next video. So the last thing you need to do is just turn the dock over, zoom out slightly so you can see better, and just tighten up these screws. Some tight. Okay, so now we've got the unit back together, button panel in place, and then when you plug in the power, all things equal, it should work. If you have some problems with this, then you need to, this is the installation video, you need to go back and look in the list of videos and look at the troubleshooting videos. There are some related to this ribbon cable which comes down for the amplifier, there's some related to button sticking, and there's some relating to sound processor failure. But if the dock doesn't work at this point, you need to go and look at the other videos. It's not covered in this video. And then yeah, obviously when you're ready, you're happy with it, put the grill back in, and there you have it, the completed upgrade of the dock to Bluetooth version 5. Yeah, so the operation video is a separate video, as I say, and the troubleshooting, if it doesn't work at this point, you need to look at the other videos to find out what to do. Okay, well, thanks for watching. As I say, be careful with these switches that you don't break them. You have to use very light force with your fingers all the time, and you mustn't push them side to side. It's just a bit more of a delicate installation because there's these buttons than the BC7 was. For those of you who are familiar with BC7, that was a slightly easier product to install. But if you take it easy and be careful, then everything should go according to plan, alright? There's also, if you need to take this apart from this point forward, there's another video which shows you the disassembly, because this is stuck in at the moment and we need to get that out in a careful way not to damage it, okay? So the disassembly is also shown in a separate video. So that's the how to fit and upgrade the Bose SoundDock Original to fit the BC20 Bluetooth NFC upgrade. Okay, so any questions, then our support staff at sales@invebo.com, sales@invebo.com, we're happy to help you with installation. Do look at the videos, because the first thing the staff will ask you when you phone in, if you have a problem with your dock, is that have you checked the diagnostics and all the videos to make sure that you've done the installation correctly. We've learned over many years, since 2010, that when a customer has a problem and sends a dock in and it's not working, it's always a ribbon cable upside down, or the connections are wrong, or something's been damaged on the board, or the power supply is faulty. So there's videos covering all of those issues, and we ask you to look at those first to save time shipping docks backwards and forwards, and save our time and your time helping out with problems which we are unable to diagnose because we can't do it all remotely. But the videos are a very good guide, so please do have a look at the videos before you contact us to make sure you've covered all the bases with regard to the installation before we start suspecting that the part is faulty. All parts are fully tested before they're sent, and what we normally find is when we get them back is that there's some kind of mechanical damage during handling, where over boisterous and over too much force has been applied to components during assembly. Okay, so that concludes the video. Enjoy your Bose sound dock, they're very good, and if you have any problems then get in touch. Thanks very much for watching.